Is this?
Yeah.
Okay. So today we'll talk about OOPS concept. Okay. Every programming language, most of the programming language that we use, right? Modern programming languages that we use, all of those are basically, one second. Yeah. All of those are basically, object oriented programming. So everything is object in Python. In Python, everything is object. If you go here and if you see here, right, this add function here, right? So this, like, not only this, let's say string, right? Str. So you see, if you see here, right, str, right? What is this? It's a class, right? So here everything is object and classes in Python. You can see here str, all these things. So basically, what are classes? Classes are nothing but it's like a suppose you are building uh, you're building flats in a complex, okay, and you have a blueprint that 2 bhk should be like this, 3 bhk should be like this. So that blueprint or template is basically a class, and the buildings or the flats that you're building, that's basically an object. Okay, class is basically a template, and object is basically data and actions. Those are basically object. So you have a class, you can create objects, multiple objects from that class. Okay, why do you use oops? Because we want to use that code effectively. Suppose you want to use something with some data, right? Then you have to declare some variables which can be of list data structure or tuple or anything, right? But sometimes we have to do a lot of functions, lot of tasks for those data, right? And every time we cannot just do one by one, we cannot put the data, right? It can be like data which you need to pass or something. Okay, so we can use classes and objects for that. And in NetApp, what we normally do is we'll use classes like this. Okay, volume will be capital V. So volume class. So using this volume class, I'll be creating a volume. I'll be updating the attributes, or suppose I want to change the name of the volume. I want to increase the size of the volume. I want to delete the volume, offline the volume. I want to change the snapshot policy of the volume. I can do everything using the volume class. We have a volume class. We have Qt class. Okay, so you have all these things. So initially in NetApp, right, what we normally do is that before we use any classes, we have to import the classes, right? So basically in Python, you have some packages, you have some modules, which will be nothing but collection of your classes. So if you want to use some functions, which is part of that module, right, you have to import it. So what you need to do, you need to do import. Let's say you are importing from module 1, okay? So it's a module 1, import module 1, or import like this. Okay, so from module 1, so from module 1 I'm importing, let's say volume class. Okay, so like this, and then I'll be able to use the volume class. Or sometimes if you want to use a shorter form of that class, right, as VL, you can say like this, and then instead of volume you can say, you can use the VL class. Okay, you can do that. This is something you can do. So these things will be using it very extensively during our NetApp automations. We'll be importing the classes from some modules, and we'll be using those classes. We'll be passing some variable length of arguments that we showed yesterday. Mostly we'll be passing dictionaries. Okay, and then we'll manipulate the dictionary to create something or update something or delete something. There are few methods. You can create something, you can update something, you can delete something. Okay, if you're using REST API, right, suppose maybe you know someone who's working on Flask or Django, right? So in REST API, in HTTPS, you have few things, like you have create, okay, which is create, update, delete. Okay, so but though those are not called as create, update, delete. So if you have create, right, so they will be called as post. Okay, the method in HTTPS method is post. Okay, if you want to modify something, then the method is update method. Okay, update or patch method. Okay, PATCH, patch method. Okay, if you want to delete something, then post, update, post, patch, you have the delete method. Okay, so these things are there basically. These are basically synonyms of HTTPS methods. Okay, that we use. Okay, suppose you want to create something. Okay, then you will do. Then basically what you do. Let me, once I do the native automation, then I'll show you properly. But let me first stick to the basics. So if you want to create a class, right? Let's say I want to create a class. So here, when you are creating a class, you have to use this keyword, class keyword. Okay, and what you do is you have to use camel casing. Your naming convention should be like this, camel casing. Okay, that means what? Suppose you want to get a class like car make, right? So you'll be making like this. Okay, car make. You see capital letter, small letter, and then capital letter. So this is called as camel casing. And this kind of conventions, this kind of naming conventions are not only used for Python but for many other programming languages. This is because this is easy to understand. Okay, so let me go here. So obviously you have to use a colon. Okay, now what I need to do, now I have to use some task here, some block of codes here, right? So here what I'm doing, I'm using a class keyword, and then I'm giving a class name, and then I'm giving a colon. Okay, and the class can contain variables and functions. It can contain variables and functions. The variables that we use inside the class is called as attributes, and the functions that you use inside the class are called as methods. Okay, methods. Okay, so this thing what I said, right, camel casing, right, camel casing. Okay, we also call this as Pascal case. Okay, camel case or Pascal case. Okay, okay, now when you want to create a first class, right, let me just go to the Visual Studio. Okay, if you want to define your class attributes, right, so when you want to create a new object, or you want to just use like you want to use a method, you want to create a method, right, the default method that you create, it is known as init method. Okay, underscore init. Okay, it is called as dunder also, dunder method also, dunder method. Okay, dunder. Why dunder? Dunder because you can see here double underscore, right, dunder, double du double underscore d, from double you get d, and underscore you get under, dunder. Okay, that's why they call it as dunder. Okay, so what does it mean? So whenever you are creating an object from this class, this dunder method is the default method which will be automatically executed. It will basically set up the initial state of the class. Okay, now let me just so, and whenever you are creating a method for a class, right, a functions inside a class, right, you always have to use the self keyword. If you do not give the self keyword and execute or call the create an object from the class, you will get an error. You will get a runtime error that one positional argument is required but zero positional argument given. You will get that error. Okay, if you do not provide the self keyword. Okay, so a car can have a brand, it can have a color. It can have a lot of things. It can have a year of made. uh, it can have prices, base prices, lot of things. Okay, so you have to use the self keyword. How do we you know how do we create the variables here? We have to use the self keyword. We have to give like self dot brand in equal to brand. Okay, you can give some other name also. Self dot brand equal to b also we can give, it's not a problem. Self dot color, okay, equal to color. একটু পরে খাবো. Okay, so you can see here. So what we are doing here, so basically init method is basically an special method, a dunder method, which will run automatically whenever you are trying to create objects from the class. Okay, and this init method, the dunder method, they also call it as, the Python also call it as constructor. Okay, they also call it as constructor. What constructor does, what does constructor do? It will basically initialize the your new objects. Whenever you're creating the new objects, it will initialize. Okay, so whenever you are creating the object from the class, right, this dunder method or constructor or init method, it will be automatically called. Okay, so let me just create a normal thing, just basic thing. I'll just show you. I hope you are able to understand this, right? So this is basically a method. This is a default method, and then suppose we want to create another method. Okay, I want to start the car. Okay, and colon, and then I'll let's say I will return something. I want to return the color of that car. Self dot brand and self dot color. Okay, self dot color. There is a mistake I'm doing. Can you tell me what is the mistake I'm doing here? It's very easy. What is the mistake I did here? I did not use the placeholders. Okay, I did not use the placeholder. Okay, let me just. I did not use a placeholder, which is the braces. Okay, self dot brand, self dot color, self dot brand. Okay, right. So also I did one more mistake, which is I did not give this quotation, right? Yeah. Self dot color, self dot brand. Okay, self dot color and self dot brand. I'm getting some problem here. Self is not defined. Why? Okay, anyway. Yeah, I'm getting the problem. Self is not defined. Why? Because I did not pass anything here, right? I did not pass any parameters here, so I need to pass it. Okay, so that's I'm getting this error. Okay, no problem. Now what I need to do, then I will show you. So we created a class, right? We created a class. The name of the class is car. Now we have to show you how to create objects from the class. How to create objects from the class. Okay, just say I'm creating object car1. Okay, so objects, it does not have to start with capital letters, upper cases. The classes has to, but not objects. Okay, so what is the car name? What is the what is the class name? Car, right? Car. And I have to pass the arguments, right? Brand and color, right? So what will be the brand? Let's say you have a brand which is like Chevrolet. Okay, and then you have your color, right? So let's say red. Okay, so I saw this is your car. Fine, and let us just execute this. Let us just clear this out. Okay. Okay, yes, I did call this, but I'm not printing anything, right? So let me print out this. Uh, or here actually, so one second. So this is initializing, right? Here I'm not saying anything, right? So let me just print it out here. Print out something like default. Or let's say dunder method, right? This is a dunder method, okay? And then start again, and then execute again, okay? It's showing as dunder. So what is happening whenever I'm creating an object from the class, the constructor is getting executed, and that's why I'm getting the dunder output, okay? Now I have another method, okay, which class method, which is a start, right? So I would like to uh, call that method, right? So what is car1 is my object, right? Car1 dot, what is the method name? Start, right? Start, okay? Car1 dot start, fine. Let me just execute this. You can see it under, right? So I'm getting it returned, right? I'm getting return, yes, I'm getting return, right? But I'm not using a print statement here, right? Although I'm getting return, I'm not using a print statement, right? So whatever values I'm getting return, I should print it, right? So I should print it, right? So Control X. I think better I do like this. What has happened? 1 second. Print car1, that is the object, and what is the class method? Start is the class method. I don't have to pass anything because it will be using the variables from here, from the constructor only. So I don't need to pass any arguments here. Okay, so I'll just execute this. You can see here, you can see here that we are able to execute the method, the class method. Okay, so what we did here, we created a class. We shown the constructor method, the init method, the special method, which will automatically run whenever we are calling whenever we are creating any new objects from the method, because it will set up the initial state. Okay, then what we are doing, we are creating methods, customized custom methods, start or whatever we can, you are using this. Okay, we are creating this. Okay, so I hope you are able to understand, right? So basically objects are nothing but objects. They will call it as instances. So objects are nothing but it's basically instances that you're creating from a class. Okay, every object will be different. If we're using car1, we can use car2 also, car3 also, different multiple objects we can create. Okay, and we can have different data for them. We can pass different arguments, different parameters for them. Okay, and it won't affect, like if I am creating some other method, other object, right? This object will not affect the other object. Okay, it will not affect other objects. Okay, so this is, and whenever like this object you are creating, right? Let's say you are creating another object, tr. I have to pass two variables, right? mm45, something like that. Okay, now I have these two objects, right? I have these two, right? Now there is a thing. Okay, if you just want to see the car1, right? Just want to see the car1, what it will show you? It will show you the location, the memory location of this object. And you see here it is 7A00, right? And if you see for car2, it will be something else, right? So this is different objects, because of which it is located at different memory locations. Okay, so whenever you are creating an object, Python will allocate that object in memory automatically. Okay, and if you are not referencing the object again, so it will be like it will not exist actually if you're not using it. Okay, if you're creating the object, so if suppose I'm creating the object, like creating object car1, right? Then I'm not creating, I used car2, and then suppose I have removed this one, right? So this will be removed automatically from the memory. Okay, I hope you understood, right? This will be removed automatically from the memory. Okay. Now let us do more things. 1 second. So the object attributes, the variables, right, that we have, we can read it, we can modify it. Okay. So how do you do that? Let me show you. Okay. How do you do that? That is something is very important which you need to know. Okay. So you create another object, say another class. So it's a class, rectangle class. You do not have to give, that first bracket. Okay, you do not have to use that. You do not have to use that one. Okay, when you're creating an object, when you're creating a class, when you're creating a function, you have to give. Okay. Now, what is the method that you have to define now? The constructor, the dunder method, right? Init method. We need to define. Okay, and the self is the keyword that is required. By default, it's required. Okay. So we have studied, in our class 5 or class 4 that, rectangle, like you have to multiply width with height, right? Square, all those things. Okay. So this is a definition. This is nothing but instructor constructor is nothing but a function, but you have to use the self keyword, and you have to, when you want to access that or you want to initialize the variable, right, you have to use the self dot width. Okay. I'll give w, it's not a problem. I'll see wd. Okay, I'm just telling. Okay, if I give some other things also, it will work. Okay, height equal to height. Okay, so this is our default, that is method, dunder method, constructor method, and then we can use the area. We can calculate the area. Okay, we have to give the self, we have to parameter, we have to pass the self, and suppose you're returning something. If a function does not return anything, it will return void, right? It's a void function, it will return none. Okay, self. So what you need to do, you need to multiply it, right? Self dot height. Okay, so that's what you do. Okay, so we have defined a class, rectangle class. Now what you want to do, what is our next goal? Next goal is to create object, right? Next goal is to create object and access these attributes, width and height attributes, right? How do you do that? So let's say we are creating object named REC. So what is the class name? REC, you have to use it, and then we have to, 1 second, we have to pass the values, right? We have to pass the parameters or the arguments, right? So let's say 3 is width and 2 is height. Let's say this 3, 1, 2, 2 is 6. Okay, now, so this is what you're doing here. We are basically creating an object from this class. Okay, and now what you want to do, suppose you want to print out the attributes, you want to print out the class variables, right? So how do you do that? Okay, we can use the print function. What is the print? Print is also a function, it's a method, it's an inbuilt function. Okay, so if I just use this, and so I'll use the double quotes, and I'll use second placeholder I need to use, right? So placeholder is braces. I need to use braces, so I have to use self dot width I have. Okay, width. Okay, I'll be just closing it, closing it, right? That's fine. Here I'm getting some error here. I'm getting some error here. Why I'm getting the error? Because this self is not, we cannot access self. This is, this is not a global variable. We cannot access self, right? So what you need to do here, how can you read the, attributes, the class variables outside of the class? How can you read this? We cannot use self keyword here. No. So here what I have the object, right? So I can use the object. Okay, I have the object REC1. Okay, I have the object, and then I can use that, height or width. Okay, so I can use the dot notifications, I mean dot notations. Okay, I have object dot your attributes. Okay, I can do that, and then I will be able to read this. Let's finish it here. Okay, so that's what we can do to access the attributes. Okay, and suppose you want to modify the attribute, right? Then how do you modify the attribute? Same, you have rec1 dot width. Okay, you'll modify it as like, let's say 67. Okay, and then you can print it out again. Control C, Control V. Okay, and then execute it and see what happens. See, initially it was it's 3, right? Because initially it was 3 and it was 67, right? And if you want to, this it's doing something, right? And if you want to see what this method is doing, then you can use the method, right? Print out. This method is returning that, right? So rec1, okay, dot, what's the method name? The method name is area, right? You just call the method, right? You have to use the object dot method name, then you'll be able to call the method. So it will come 3 into 2 6, right? So I'm getting this one, right? Why? Because I have changed the width, right? So 67 into width, right? 67 into 2, okay, 134. That's what it is getting. Okay, that's what it's getting. So what are these methods? What are this method? This method, area method. You can see here, this is a method, right? If you just click on it, you see this is a method, right? You can see the definition also. Self at that rec, it is coming from rec class, right? So methods are basically functions. These are basically functions that belongs to your objects. Okay, whenever we are calling the method, right, what function, like what Python is doing initially, it is basically using the parameter like self keyword only. Okay, it is passing the object basically. So whenever I am calling the method, let's say I'm calling this method like area method, right? So what it is doing? So when I'm calling the area method, it is basically passing the REC object only. So area method, REC object, what REC1 object is having? It is having 3 as width and 2 as height. So these parameters are being basically passed to the method, the area method, the class method. Okay, so this is, you have to understand. Okay, so what is class? Class is basically a template. What is object? Object is something, an instance that you create from the class. Okay, whenever you are creating a class, it does not occupy any memory. No memory will be allocated, but whenever you are creating an object, it will occupy memory. Okay, and what is method? Method is functions that is defined inside the class. You can call methods using objects. Okay, whenever you are calling methods, you are passing the objects. Okay, that's what you are doing. Okay, you can use your OOPS concept for data modeling, game development, lot of different things. Whenever you are using that data analysis using Python, right? So you have few methods, few inbuilt classes that you use, right? Cborn, matplotlib, lot of things are there. Okay, initially when data analysis came back in 2015 or 16, right, everybody was learning data science something, right? So they're learning and they're doing things, right? And few people, and one more thing I'll tell you one hack. Okay, few people, how they increase the salary. You can do a master's in any country, right? Any foreign country. Okay, like even if that college or the university is not reputable, and you come back to India, you got like little bit of good knowledge, basic knowledge, then you'll get a very good handsome salary. That's what many of my friends did. Okay, your salary will start like 30, 34, like that it will start. Okay, but the thing is, whenever something is coming, right, like DevOps, data science, right, you'll not find data science jobs in Naukri nowadays. Okay, initially it was like a lot of jobs are coming, right? But nowadays, data science jobs has been restructured into data engineering jobs. Initially, they were using like Python and all these things, right? So now they are using some tool like Power BI, some other tool is there like Snowflake. So those are data engineering people are using. Okay, and initially they used to use Hadoop. They used to install on their VMs or physical machines, but now they're using it on on cloud platform. They migrate on cloud platform, so they're using cloud. Okay, so if they want to automate anything on data engineering, they're using Terraform only. So Terraform is very, very useful, not only in cloud for database, for data engineering, for normal cloud automations, infrastructure automations, for CV, everything they're using Terraform. Okay, nowadays, so it's very good, and they have Terragrant also, Pulumi also, but you know. So what are the best practices for using classes? You have to give meaningful name for the classes. Okay, and you have to initially use the init method. You have to use the init method to initialize all the attributes in your classes. Okay, and also for attribute, the class variables, you have to give a meaningful name. Okay, and self keyword, do not forget the self keyword. Never forget the self keyword. Okay, don't forget the self keyword. Okay, yeah. So are you able to understand, Venkat and others? So Venkat, Maulali, Nitin, Bala, Arvind, Peng, are you able to understand?
Can you hear me? I think I just recall to again.
Yeah, yes, yeah. Please tell again.
Yeah, I just recall to again. Some things get difficult to understand. Anyway, I will do a recording again.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Which
all.
one can you please? Yeah, please let me know which one. I will explain to you.
This is the first time for the oops come stuff. So again, I have to be rework. Then only I have to be get some understanding.
Yeah. See, if you're learning OOPS for Java, right, it is little bit difficult. It is difficult. It's a lot difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Java is a steep learning curve. C++ very difficult. C very difficult. Python is easy. R is also very different. Python is very easy. Python is easy. Okay. You'll not find any language which is easy, which is easier than Python. The only thing is that
Mm,
you do not have to know everything about OOPS. You just need to know what are classes and objects, what are object methods, what is class inheritance, what is method overloading or overriding, and some special methods, static methods and something. You do not have There are a lot of other things are there, but we do not need to know. Okay, we don't have to be an expert in OOPS. Okay. In Udemy,
yeah,
there's a
got it.
free course, 2 hours course of Python or special noobs. Okay, you can just register that on a free course. It is by a lady. Okay, she's been teaching since 2002, I think, on Python. So you can just, the voice is not good there, but it's a little bit low, but you can just see that. And Team Buchalka is good, but you do not have to learn from Team Buchalka. It's a lot of things. Okay. So, what is our main objective? Our main objective to do automation. We need to know how to create objects from a class, how to create child classes from the parent class, how do class inherit, like how do objects inherit the class properties, the inheritance we have to know. So these things we have to know. We don't have to be an expert. And the last one we have to know is exception handling. Okay, we have to know exception handling. Okay, so and the similar way I'm teaching Python, right? I'll be teaching the same thing in Ansible. I'll be teaching each and everything properly, and even troubleshooting, like whenever we get errors in Ansible, right? How do we troubleshoot? Okay, and once we complete our Python classes and native automation, right? Then last class of native automation, not last class in native automation, or native automation with Python, last class, what I will do is I will help you set up the lab so you can practice the native automation. Okay, I'll help you set up the lab, and we'll do few lab sessions. We'll take a model student, like maybe whoever is, suppose anyone is saying that I want to do, right? So, or maybe everyone wants to do, right? So we can have some lab sessions there. I'll be asking them, please create a script for volume create. Let's create a volume. Okay, or let's create a CFS. Please do that. So they'll be creating a script, doing, in our presence, like in whenever NetApp or Hitachi is doing taking training, right, you'll be having your lab sessions, right? So similar to that, we'll do that. Okay, not every script will try, but few scripts will try, and you will do that. You will execute that, and then you will learn that. And once that is done, then we'll start with Ansible classes. Okay, so let me just stop here.
The lab is from the on-demand lab from NetApp, or it's
Yeah,
on our
if you
own.
have LOD, then it is very good. You do not have to install Python. If you do not have LOD, you have to install Visual. Like there is a, what is that? Visual Studio, not Visual Studio. Sorry, VMware Workstation. You have to install the VMware Workstation. You have to create NetApp. You have to use the ONTAP simulator and NetApp. You have to create the ONTAP from the simulator, and then you have to create a Linux VM. In the Linux VM, I'll give you the name of some packages which you need to download from Google, and you need to install those packages there. And the IP has to be on same VLAN. It will be same, basically. You are using the VMware workstation only, right? There will be no port, right? So, and then you can do from there also, because not everyone will have LOD. But if you have LOD, we do not need to install Python. You can use LOD. That will be like easy for us, because if when you are doing automations in your project, right, what you do, you will first get the approval from your client and manager, and they will send some request to your Linux team that I need a Linux server, I want this package to be installed. So they'll install everything for you, right? You don't have to install it. Or
Yeah.
maybe you can get the admin access, you can install it on your own. So that is also you can do. But that's what I did actually. I sent it to the Linux team. We created something, and few things I integrated with the help of Snow developer, ServiceNow developer in Snow, and few things I'm doing in silos, not as centralized scripts. Silos means some scripts will be there which will execute. And there is a one tool there in Occam. There's a workflow automation, right? I think you guys know it, right? There we can run Ansible jobs using workflow automation. Okay, you can integrate the workflow automation with ServiceNow, and then we can also use that. That is also another way. So let's just go here. Okay, so we are talking about object methods, right? So what are object methods? And there is a channel, there is a free channel, free code camp, or just you can also learn from there. There is a lot of things are there, free code camp, you can learn from there. Okay, the thing is, whatever training I give, right, it has to be meaningful. Okay, so if you see here, these are the automations. You can see here what are the automations I did, right? If you go to the second batch of storage automation, you'll see that this is not the second batch or what. Yeah, this is the second batch, right? Okay, you can see here the Python classes that we did, right? The native automation we did, right? So 1 2 3 4 5 6, we took 6 and 7 classes for Python automation with NetApp. Okay, and then we wanted the Ansible and Brocket Sandwich Power Max. CVO is not here, CVO and PO, which we'll do in this class. Okay, and whatever training I give, right, it's comprehensive training. Okay, I try to give all the things which will be useful for them. Okay, and whatever troubleshooting I do, I upload in script. Okay, you can see ransomware troubleshooting, hardware assist troubleshooting. Okay, like all these things I give. Okay, this is just one playlist, so like this. Okay, let me just go back to this. So what are object methods? Object methods, or any methods, are basically functions, but object method means functions inside your objects, sorry, inside your classes. Okay, so basically object methods are functions which will belong to the objects, and using these object methods you'll be able to do some or perform some actions. Okay, what are attributes? Attributes are nothing but variables. It is data about data, data about objects, right? And what is method? Method means you want to execute some task using those attributes. So method is nothing but, in Python's term or in programming term, they will call as behavior or functionality. Okay, so method is basically verbs. Okay, So what do you mean by this? So your class, your object is basically is like a your class is basically, you can say, noun. So a person, in a sentence, in a grammar, what grammar does, right? Verb means action, right? So you are having methods. Using methods, you can execute, you can perform some task. Okay, you can perform some task, and you can use your attributes that your class is having. Okay, so that's what we showed, right? Using the car, right? Car start or something, right? We did, right? Here also we use that method, object method, which is the area method, right? Similar thing. Okay, same thing. Okay, so whenever you are basically creating an object method, you'll be creating it inside a class, and you have to use the def keyword, and then you have to give the method name. Okay, and you have to pass the self keyword as your parameter. Always the first parameter will always be self. Okay, you can modify the attributes like this. As you see here, we'll be just doing like object dot your attribute name, and you can modify it, you can access it, your object dot your attribute name, you can access it. Okay, your object can return something, as you can see here. Okay, so this object is nothing but instance method. Okay, and this is what, this is special method. We can have lot of special method, not only this, we can have a string method, it underscore str underscore. Okay, len method, len. So this len method, what will have, it will have the len functions, len this method, right? So I'm using, if you remember, right, when I'm having a list, right, I want to know how many items there in the list, right? Then what I was using, I was using the len built-in function, right? So which this is having. Okay, this class is having. Okay, so if you go here, let me show you. Okay, let me try and show you. Control M, underscore dir, sorry, underscore dir underscore. Let's say we have the len function, right? Okay, so I have this, control X, print, control V. Let me close this and let me try. Let me see what is showing some error. Okay, dir not defined. Okay, dir is not defined. Okay, dir is not defined. Let's say x equal to control A, control Z, x equal to control V. Okay, still also saying dir is not defined. Okay, for this actually dir then I think this is the one, I guess. Yeah, print x. Okay, so you can see a lot of things are right. So this, what is this len basically? This is a function showing, right? So it is having all this method. This is a class method. Okay, this is a class, you can see it is having all this method. Okay, self, these are the methods it is having. Okay, this len function. Okay, suppose you have this len, right? So len dot, you're getting this, right? You're getting all these things here, right? New, reduce, size of operator, string, you're getting all these things here. Okay, str. Okay, you'll be able to see all those things. Okay, so these methods are available. So basically this underscore str underscore len, these are all basically special methods, these are all built-in methods. Okay, and you have to use the self parameter, you have to use the self keyword. Whenever you are calling the method, the first parameter that you have to pass is self. Okay, using self, you'll be able to access the objects, attributes, and other methods. Okay, I hope you are able to understand, right? This one, this is very easy. Okay, you are basically using the self parameter. Why? Because you want to access the methods. Okay, you want to access the method, right? So control Z, go here, you can see here. So here we can see the self parameter. Okay, why you are using this? You are actually accessing the methods or the attributes, okay, from the class. So that's using the self method. Whenever you are calling the method, right, whenever you are calling the method, the area method, right, you can see here, when you are calling the area method, Python automatically, it's passing the object, this re1 object, right, as the first argument. So you are saying this, right, when you are using the self, when you are calling the method, right, and the self parameter is, that's what we're using it, right, we have to pass some parameter, we cannot just keep it as blank. Okay, if we keep it as blank, let's say we keep it as blank, then we'll get an error like, zero, like we needed some arguments to be passed, but there is nothing passed. Okay, it was not close, is saying why. What is happening? One second, just 1 second. Print rectangle dot area. Okay, okay, here this is an error. Fine. You can see here, bound method. Okay, okay, no problem. One second, let me give you. Okay, what is the problem is happening? I'm getting this error. Yes, I'm getting the problem here. Silk without silk also. You can see here. You can see here. Initially, I was getting that. I was getting the multiplication, right, 134, right, but now I'm not getting, right. I'm just getting the memory location. It is not getting executed. Okay, but if I use the self keyword, right, then I'll be able to use the method. Okay, call the method. Okay, only if I pass the self keyword. So, 1 second. Should have been given some error. Okay, no. It should have been given me some error. It's not giving me. Rake dot area, raycon dot area. What is happening? What is happening? Okay, 1 second. Raycon dot area. It's returning something, yes, but it is returning that. 1 second. What is happening? Self dot keyword, rake dot area. It's fine. Raycon dot area. That is fine. What is happening? Strange. Okay, the self keyword, yes. Self dot read is equal to this. Okay, the area. I'm getting the bound, but I'm getting the memory location, but not that thing. Why? Calling this also. Why this is not happening? Very different thing to say. What's the problem is happening? I'm giving the self area, yes. Okay, got it. So here I'm giving recon dot area, right? Yes, but this is a method. If you see here, right, this is a method, right? So we did not use the parenthesis, right? That's the reason it's not working. Okay, now it will work. Now it will give the memory. Now it will give the, that multiplication, right? Now here I do not use the self keyword. Okay, let's say, sorry, control Z. Let's say I don't use the self keyword. Okay, it will throw me an error of position argument that I did not pass any argument. Okay, so it should throw me an error that I was trying to show you originally. So let me do that. Okay, it takes 0% arguments, but one was given. It takes 0% argument, but one was given, because here we are giving some arguments, right, but it is not, we're not passing anything, right? So we have to pass the self keyword. That's how it is designed. Okay, suppose you don't want to pass the self keyword, right? I want to pass something else. Instead of self, I want to pass something else. It will also work. Okay, It's nothing. It does not matter what you write, but you have to pass something. Okay. Instead of self, you can give S or T or anything. That's not a problem. Okay. Let me just try this one. Let's see what it comes. Okay, it worked, right? So you have to pass this self keyword. Okay, then only it will work. Okay, that's what happens. Okay. Now let us talk about class inheritance. Let us talk about class inheritance. Okay. Let us talk about class inheritance. So what is class inheritance? Basically, when you are creating a class, you are defining some attributes and some methods. But suppose you want to create class from another class. In if when we discuss about exception sessions, right, they'll show you that we have a base exception, which is exception. From there we can get like a lot of exception classes, like value error, uh, indefinite error, or string error, something like string value error, something like a lot of error we can get. Okay, but those are basically belonging to the parent class or the base class. Okay, so what class inheritance does, it will allow you to create classes from some other classes. You can inherit, like in volume, right? So when you are using NetApp, you have a vServer. Whenever you are creating the vServer or the SVM, you have to give the volume security style in the root volume, right? Maybe we are creating it as unique security style, right? And whenever you're creating a data volume on that vServer, which will be on that vServer, right? If you do not provide that security style, it will inherit from the vServer, right, which is the root volume security style, right? So here also the child classes are actually inheriting the properties, the attributes, okay, that the class is having, the parent class is having, the methods from the parent class, the child is getting the things from the parent. Sometimes the parent is like, he has a different demeanor, different behavior. Sometimes child will learn from the parent, right? So suppose the father is not respecting women, right? The child will also learn the same. Or the father is quarrelsome, the child also learn that thing, right? Or the father is honest, child will also learn honesty from him, right? Same thing. The child classes will learn from the parent classes. It will inherit the properties of attributes and parent classes methods. Okay. So that's what it does. Okay, so a child class will always inherit from a parent class, and child class and can also have some additional methods or modify the inherited methods that it has received from the parent class. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, it is very easy. The more you learn, see, the best way to learn the technology is that, suppose you want to learn automation, right? You need to learn one or two tools, and you need to just study again and again and again and practice it. Suppose you're learning NetApp, you need to practice NetApp again and again. You don't have to be jack of all trades. See, if you're a architect, if you're having 50 or 20 year experience, so you'll be good at storage and backup, and you'll know the things on VMware, database, networking, other things, but you'll not be knowing everything in detail. You'll be knowing one or two technologies in detail, because even if you know and you don't work it for a long time, right, you forget that thing, right? You don't want to do that. So for me, I am very good in NetApp, Hitachi, and EMC. Although I did not get chance on working on EMC products for a long time, NetApp and Hitachi. Okay, I started working in the industry since 2010. The year I passed out from BTech. So I started with TCS, and my first project was Hitachi only. We had Hitachi, and the next project we had EMC and NetApp, and then I was always getting Hitachi and EMC, or Hitachi or NetApp, something like that. Okay. So, but initially when I was in TCS, part of a project like some Denmark project, Tele Denmark project, so there we used to use shell scripting for the Vmax allocations. Okay. So, but shell scripting is like you need to do a lot of trial and error. Whenever you're using the variable, right, you have to use a dollar symbol, okay, dollar and then some car or something to use the variable, okay. And for loop will work there for I in dollar, like you want to use this, right, car, something like that we used to use, okay, in bash, okay. But Python is much more easier. Python and Ansible is easier than Python, obviously. So let us create a base class or a parent class, okay, animal, okay, and we'll create some methods. So we'll create the constructor, which is a default method init, dunder class, we call as dunder class also. So what is the parameter that you have to provide first? Self, okay, we got a s instead of self, provide s, okay, name. So how do I access the name? S dot name, okay. Yeah, I did a mistake here, colon, s dot name equal to name, okay. So whenever I will create an object from the animal class, this init method will be initialized, the init method will be called, okay, because this is a default method, okay. Then I will create the other user defined methods. So let's say the dog can speak or the animal can speak, okay. It can make a sound. Let's say it can make a sound instead of speak, and make a sound, okay. Self keyword I need to provide self, okay. I'll return is dot okay. So I'll return like what is it, or what sound it can make, right? So obviously let's say this animal makes, before that is it's a variable, right? So I have to use the placeholders. Is a ginger to templating, okay, ginger to ginger one. Normally this is what we use in JavaScript, okay. So this is ginger to templating. You can search in Ansible also, will be using similar way, when you want to use inside the playbooks or YML files, we'll be using the same thing. If you, when you want to refer the variables, we'll be using this one only. So it is dot name, okay. And yeah, please rejoin everyone, rejoin, okay, because yeah, I think people have rejoined, right? Okay, let me just start. The good thing about someone else having the meeting, right, I don't have to allow them, so it's good actually. And somebody was asking me that I will provide the lab, right? Yes, I will help you set up the lab in your laptop. Simulator is free, okay, but on demand lab, right, that is something you can get if you are a customer or a partner. It will be very difficult, it will be impossible for me to share my project's credential, okay. That I cannot really do that, okay. I don't want to take the chance, because yeah, anyway. So this is dot name, it can make a sound. Let's say this animal can make a sound, it can be a dog or something, okay. Whatever I do here, right, you'll be able to do most of the things, not all the things, but most of the things which is allowed in simulator, like creating a CFA share, NFS exports, aggregates, all this thing you can do, not upgrade or anything. Those you can do in LOD, but most of the you can do, okay. But Hitachi, it does not have a simulator. I have a lab, so I'll show that. Pure you can use, not the automation part. Normally Pure will give you a lab for 4 hours, you can use that. So yeah, it's sound, okay. So it is something there, okay. You can make many other functions, okay. You can make many other functions like this, return, you have something like is dot name, okay, is sleeping, something like that. You have to put the double quotes, yes. I'm getting some error, why. I'm getting some areas. There is a, yeah, tab in between. Yeah, so it's there, and this is my class, parent class, which is animal class. Now I will create some classes, some child classes. Okay, some child classes. So let me just give enter and then give here. Indentation has to be proper. I have to go outside of that child class, so parent class. Okay, so let's say I'm creating a class dog class. Okay, and I can yes, I'll not do anything here. I'll just pass it. I'll show the method overriding or method overloading later on. So let's say I'll pass it. Okay, so this is a child class only, so I'll show the inheritance. Okay, so let's see, I have a dog which is name is dog1. Okay, and what is the child class name? Dog, right? And I'll pass a name. Let's say it's Tom. Okay, and I will try to see whether I'll be able to use the methods from my parent class or not. Okay, so how do I access the methods? I have to use the object dot method name, right? So what is the method I have? Okay, I'm not able to access it. One second, guys. Dog Tom. I'm not able to max access it. What is happening? Ha 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 ha. Yeah, I did not. I have to mention that it has to inherit the properties from my child in a parent class, right? So I have to mention this, right? So I have to mention the class name inside the parenthesis, and then it can inherit. Okay, pass means I'm not doing adding any or creating any it's this child classes methods. Okay, so that's I'm giving pass. So in my next class I'll show you that how to create his own class, how to use new methods, or how to override the parent methods. Okay, I'll show that. Okay, method overriding I'll show you. Okay, so pass I'm giving, that's fine. Now here I'll be able to access the method from the parent class. Okay, so dog1 dot sleep. Okay, and but I have to use the parenthesis, otherwise it will give me the memory location only. Okay, and if I just execute this, it will return the thing, right? Tom is sleeping. You can see it, right? I could have used this sound also. So you can see here. So here what I'm doing, I'm creating a class, a base class, and this is my constructor. This is my methods, class methods I'm creating. Okay, and here I'm just using the placeholder, to declare the variable here, to use the variable inside the string. Okay, and here I'm using creating a class dog class, and I'm telling that it has to inherit the properties from my parent class, which is animal class, and I'm giving the pass keyword here, means I do not want to write any code here. And then I'm creating an object from my child class, and I'm passing some arguments here, some parameters here, and then I'm calling the methods. Okay, I'm calling the parent method. Okay, from the object which I have created from the child class. Okay, I hope you are able to understand this, right? So this is inheritance. Okay, inheritance is basically a relationship between classes. Means the child class is basically able to get the access the attributes or methods of your parent class. Okay, so child class is getting all the functionalities of the parent class. You can extend it by adding new functions, adding new methods, or you can modify the parent class methods also using the child class. Okay, so parent class is nothing but it will call it as base class or super class. Okay, base class and super class, and child class is called as subclass or derived class. Okay, so this is something you need to know. And what would be the uh, the specification of child class? You have to give the animal your parent class in the bracket, right? So that you are telling that it has to inherit from this class. Okay, you have to tell that. Okay, this is how it is. Okay, so do you have any questions? So we'll stop it here, and then we'll continue with method overriding and some special methods and exception handling. Okay, and then we'll start with our REST API class. Okay, so guys, do you have any questions before I finish this class? Any questions?
Yeah, no, there.
Okay. So what you need to do, you uh, need to go to the Google, right? And here you just need to search, Python programming.net. Okay, Python programming.net, or maybe WT schools. Okay, maybe WT schools is also good. Okay, and here you'll get a lot of things. Okay, you can see oops classes objects. Okay, you can learn from here. Okay, you can see here is deleting objects, passing here also pass statement is mentioned here, init method you can see here, you can see inbuilt method, init method. Okay, you can see here showing here why do you use init method. These are the things are there. W3 school is good. It was there for a long time. It's a good. Okay, you can learn from this thing instead of reading from books, right? Because books will a lot of things. Okay, so what you need to learn, you need to learn all these things. Okay, all these things and the class methods, all these things. And but you don't know, there is no need to learn file handling. Okay, you don't have to know how to read the files using this, open this open method, built-in method. Okay, you don't have to do. Okay, open and then write method. Okay, open as if, sorry, open as 1 second, open. So this is your reading f dot read, right? You are reading f dot write, you are writing f dot over, and the overwrite is also the read line, you are reading from one line. So these are not required actually. And these are pandas, Django, these are also not required. Matplotlib, these are data analysis not required. Machine learning is not required. DSA is not required. Okay, DSA is not required. The only thing that you more require, that you think you require these things, and you require this one, exception handling. Okay, try and accept. This is very important. This is very important. Okay, finally block. Okay, it will be executed regardless of whether your if and try and accept block is executed or not. Okay, finally this is something I was trying to execute in one of the sessions. Okay, finally, so you have to know. So more you read, more you study, right? Sometimes you get bored, right? So you study from different channels, different things, and you will not feel bored. Okay, and whenever feel like people are telling very complex in complex, so you just leave it. Okay, and you just study the Python and Ansible. That's it. Okay, Python, Ansible. Okay, one of my student, his name is Prashant, I think. Okay, so he's working teacher now. He has recently job changed the company. So in his project, right, they were using Python for the Python. Sorry, they're using Ansible for the on-premise NetApp arrays, and they're using Terraform for CVOs. Okay, but the project has been acquired by Accenture. Okay, and now he's moving to other company. So that's something is there. Okay, and even one of my student, I forgot his name. Today only pinged Venkat, I think. Uh, anyway, so he also got. He was asking, when I would use Terraform, because he also got some CVO in his project. So he wanted to automate the CVO. Okay, so he prior to joining my class, he was working as a backup administrator. He took my class 1 year ago, NetApp class. Now he took Python automation also, but now he works as, because in US it's most like Python, backup and storage. It's not only backup. They want a person to do multiple things. It's like H1B and a lot of things, right? They think that they want people, Indian people or anyone who's not from US, right? Want them to work a lot. Okay, work very hard for their money, right? So he's always working. Initially he used to call me at during like he used to ping me that whether I'm free or not, and he used to give me like NetApp used to get issues, but nowadays he's able to do all the things on his own. So he's supporting NetApp, I think Commvault, I think NetApp Commvault, and I think maybe Pure he's supporting. Okay, so he's working there for 10 years or 12 years. But the problem with the H1B visa, right, because of the H1B visa some problem, one of my student, two of my student basically, they come back to India. So, but one of my student Lavanya, she is like was working in Apple USA, but now she's in Apple Hyderabad, also using automations and NetApp and all those stuff. Okay, so the thing is, OOPS concept is very important. So try to learn the OOPS concept. So you'll have 1 week, right? You'll have 5 days, right? So just try to learn all these things. Python arrays I did not use. Python array. Okay, it's called list only. They're called as arrays. Okay, I do not use Python arrays, but you have arrays in Ansible. You have arrays in Java also, Java or C also. But normally don't call it as arrays. Okay, we call it as loops only. Okay, loops. They're calling it as here arrays. Okay, you can see here while loop, for loop. We talked about this, right? You can see here for x in this, if x equal to this, condition statement break. We talked about break and continue. You have to know that. Okay, we talked about Python iterators. Okay, you can see here iter. I did not talk about this. It is something iter function they're using. So when they're using next, right, it will go to the next value. Okay, that's what they're using. It's a built-in method. Okay, Python is having. So I did not use it. It's something like, it's like whenever you are doing automation, right, sometimes you have to search in over what is that, overflow or over stack, there is some website. Okay, anyway, you can search in Google. Okay, so that you will be getting some things. Okay, regex expressions, we don't use it. Okay, normally don't use it, regex expression, but every programming language will have these expressions, regex, regular expressions, RE module. Okay, you need to import the RE module, then we will be able to use these regex expressions. Okay, no, not required. Okay, pp is required to install the things when you are installing the marshmallow or netab lib libraries, which is required for the netab automation, right? You have to use that pip, which is nothing but the package manager. You can use yum also, log update manager, or rpm. Rpm is not good because you have to install one dependency one by one, then you'll be able to install. So pip you need to install. Okay, like pip needs to install to do this. And then user input, like I already discussed about this, like raw and something, right? So name equal to input. Okay, you are getting this. Okay, so it will give a keyboard input. Okay, so these are things I already discussed about that. Okay, virtual environment, something like you are creating a virtual environment. That is something you can do, like different environment you can have, testing, production. Okay, that's not required, and these things are not required. Okay, machine learning, all these are my brother knows, not required. Okay, these are all DSA, not required. So if you're being interviewed for Python automation, right, I can guarantee you they will not ask you any data structures, queue, stacks. They will not ask you hash tables. They will not ask you this. They will ask you these things to developers, not automation guys. Okay, they'll not ask you this. But if you really want to learn, or maybe you have some curiosity, there's a course in Udemy for learn for JavaScript DSA. Okay, it's similar. That is like very well defined. Okay, you can learn that, but it's not required. Okay, they will not ask you for the interview, and these things are not required. Python built-in functions, string methods. Okay, this thing is very important. So count will use if you want to count something. Count, use digit, lower, strip. This thing is very good. ls strip. Okay, so here you can see here you have a method banana, sorry, you have a text string banana. Okay, and you are using the method. You want to remove the spaces, they're using this, you are removing these spaces. Okay, and you have this commas, you want to remove this comma, this, so you are basically removing some characters. Okay, so they are using this. So normally they will use it if you're using some automation, you want to use some functions to remove something, then you can use this ls strip, filter, map, reduce, all these things we use. Okay, these things are very important. Okay, some built-in functions also there, you can see here. And there is one more function that is very important, I forgot to tell you this, which is index method is there, yes, but there is a join method. There is a join method, yeah. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, okay, so you'll get something here, right? This is a tuple, right? And you want to join them together, like John, Peter, Vicky. John hash Peter hash Vicky, right? Hash your join, right? Suppose you are getting some volume names, right? And maybe you want to print some meaningful output with the volume, that this volume is offline, this volume is having the all utilized space, something like that, right? You want to do something, they can use this. Like you can, what is, whenever you're getting output, so suppose you're getting the output in terms of a string data structure, right? And you want to use it as a string, right? You want to convert it as string, right? Then you can use the join. Okay, the join method, built-in method. Okay, so these methods we can use. So these methods we'll normally use it in our native automation, and we'll basically search in Stack Overflow. There is a website Stack Overflow. There we'll search. Okay, we don't have to remember all the things, but you have to remember the basic things. Okay. Okay. So I'll stop the session here. I'll continue next week. Okay.